Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I am Jason. That is Kevin. We are on YouTube on the Orange and Black Insider. It's us and it's OBI, which is Anthony Cosenza and John Sheeran. And then we are on, when it comes to the audio side, the podcast side, we are a member of the Believe Network. The channel is called Believe in Cincy. It's Kevin and I for Three and Out. It's John and Anthony with OBI. It's Willie and Matt with Matt and Willie No Ball. And then it's Bengal Jim and Friends. They're on Tuesday nights, talking football with Bengal Jim and Friends. So again, that's on Believe in Cincy. Update your RSS feeds, follow, like, all that shit, all that stuff. 0-2 again.
Yep.
Which you and I call. The funny thing is we both said last week that what we both thought would happen is the Bengals would lose, they'd keep it close, and we'd be much happier at the end of the game because they looked so much better. And that's exactly what happened. 100% that's exactly what happened. They did lose by 1 point. And they looked much better. I had kind of shaken confidence going into that game. Like, what if what we saw against the Patriots is really, who we are? And it wasn't. They came out and they looked like a different team right away. And they still shot themselves in the foot a lot. You can tell. I don't know how you felt. Let's just start with that. I personally feel what we saw on Sunday is not the best product. That I still saw a lot of really sloppy football. What do you think?
No, it was sloppy. It was also much improved.
Oh,
I feel like the arc that we kind of predicted of it's going to take 3 to 4 games for the Bengals to become the Bengals that we know they can be. After that game, I do think it's going to be 3, not 4. I think that we're going to see Bengals at 90-something% strength, going up against the Commanders. And then after that, the team is what it is. And we can decide past that, just what the playoff implications of that are. I was heartened after I got over being very, very upset because let's be honest, the refs came out and openly said that the Gesicki touchdown in week 1 shouldn't have been overturned. And I'm going to tell you right now, that wasn't pass interference at the end of the Chiefs game. I will die on that cross. So it should be 2-0. And I'm going to treat it as if this is a very slow 2-0 start as far as like my evaluations of the future are concerned.
Okay. So, I mean, I do agree. We should at least be 1-1. The Gesicki thing was upsetting. But again, the Bengals deserved to lose that game in week 1. They absolutely did. They played terribly, and they deserved to walk out of that game with a 0-1 record. They deserved to be embarrassed that week. If you're going to play a game where you are going to put yourself in a position where one blown call can screw you, then it's your fault that you lost. That's my opinion. So I personally think the Bengals, Joe Burrow's fumble, you know what I mean? The missed point after attempt, dropped passes. There's so many things, other things we could look at and say, hey, they lost because of this. They lost because they lost 2 of their 2 starting defensive tackles and couldn't stop the run. Or they lost because Jamar Chase had an explosion like an idiot and cost them 15 yards. We could say all those things because it's just one play. So I think I don't want to blame the refs because the Bengals put themselves in a situation where the game could be in jeopardy based on one call. Had Joe Burrow not fumbled.
This is the Chiefs. When you talk that way, you talk that way about lesser teams. I'm going to tell you right now, there's never going to be a game anyone plays against the Chiefs ever where a single blown call doesn't matter. That's just the nature of trying to beat the back-to-back Super Bowl winning franchise.
Yeah,
they're trying to three-peat right now. So to suggest we should have whooped them so bad,
no.
Well, that's what you're suggesting. Is that
not suggesting
a blown call?
I don't think the call
decided the game.
I don't think the call at the end of the game is it wasn't pass interference. He hit him early. He got there a fraction of a second early, and I think that's going to get called more often than not. I know. I'm just saying. I think that's going to get called more often than not. So I don't
think it is. I've watched Hail Mary pass after Hail Mary pass.
I know.
10 dudes all go flying into each other.
That wasn't a Hail Mary pass. That was not a Hail Mary.
How was it not?
because he's rolling out, he's targeting one wide receiver
I
standing there
know.
by himself. That's not a Hail Mary pass. Hail Mary pass is when they're all on a big jumble. And if they called it then, yes, I'm going to be mad. But that was a targeted pass to one guy, and Dejon Anthony hit him early. When I saw that and I saw the flag was late, which was
But he
frustrating, but
didn't.
as I
But
saw
he
it,
did
I
not
was
hit him early because he did not hit him early in an
because the
attempt
other
to
guy,
break up the pass. He hit him early in an attempt to occupy the same space because he was playing the ball, not the man. You're
listen,
allowed to do that.
listen, I know that. We can look at the rules. We can go back and forth on this all day. I'm
I'm not
not
doing it.
trying to defend the referees. I know. I understand your point. I think you got to understand mine too. Like, I'm not going to focus on the referees. I'm going to focus on Jamar Chase running his mouth. I'm going to focus on Joe Burrow not holding onto the ball. I want to focus on whatever. But yes, the referee. I'll tell you, the thing that was more frustrating to me than the call on Dejon Anthony at the end was so many missed holding calls. I mean,
Yes.
holy crap! Trey Hendrickson just put on a masterclass on how to get to the quarterback and how to get a left tackle benched. And he got some calls, but there were a handful of them where I was like, hey, he's got Trey Henderson in a headlock.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And no one's doing anything about it. And if you look at that pass, that last pass you were talking about, Trey Hendrickson's getting held on that play. You know what I mean? So I was more upset,
Yeah.
like, hey, they missed the holding
Yeah.
call.
Okay.
But
I mean, I disagree. We're 2-0.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it, man. But here's
Morally,
my takeaways.
we're 2-0. I know the
Morally,
stats don't
we're
record.
2-0. Okay. I thought though they came out, offense immediately looks much better. Drove down the field. The red zone offense has to get better. They went down. They had a 1st and 10 from the 4 and a 1st and 10 from the 12, and they settled for field goals on both of those drives. And you're just not going to beat the Chiefs if you can't score from the
That's where we're
4-yard line
missing
with
T.
4
Higgins.
downs. Yes, missing T. Higgins.
Man.
With his big size in there, that would be nice, to throw it up to him. Because, if you throw the ball right, you kind of have to maul him. You know what I mean? So you're going to get penalties and stuff like that. Yeah, we missed T. Higgins there. I really liked what I saw from a lot of guys, though. I love what I saw from Eric All. Eric All, I think, is going to be a really special tight end in the NFL or for the Bengals at a cheap rate for 4 years. I could see Eric All by mid-season just far outshining the rest. Well, with the exception of Mike Gesicki. But I'm not counting Mike Gesicki as a tight end either. Mike Gesicki is a slot
I'm not
wide
either.
receiver.
Where I think Eric All is going to end up fitting is we're seeing Sample paired with various tight ends. I think Eric All is going to eventually take that spot from Sample, meaning Eric All is going to be the do-all where it's going to be Gesicki and all, or it's going to be Sample and all,
I could see that.
because it makes it much, much harder to read exactly what the offense is trying to do if Eric All is out there the majority of the snaps. Even if he still isn't like technically receiving at the same level as Gesicki, his ability to do so will confound defenses.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it'll be great.
If you're going to put Drew Sample in when you want to run the ball, it's easy to say, hey, Drew Sample's in. Let's run them. They're going to run the ball. Let's stack the box. So I totally agree with that. If you're going to I'd love to see Eric Hall out there every single snap. I think he's going
to be that way at least by next year.
He's a willing, aggressive blocker, which I saw him hitting linebackers after the whistle. I mean, I love that. You know what I mean? And he's a good receiver. There was a deep out that he caught, like a 10, 12-yard deep out. He had, I think it was a linebacker covering it. He had the linebacker by 6 yards, 6, 7 yards.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. He's going to be too big and strong for defensive backs. He's going to be too fast for linebackers. And he's a blocker. He's a good blocker. Mike Gesicki had a great game. He and Burrow have a thing. They just have some rapport already. I think he had 80-something yards, 90-something yards, maybe. I don't remember.
Sounds right. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he had a great game.
Yeah, he had a really great game. I think that he can stretch the field really well, and I think he understands how to get open. But I don't. Again, I know he plays tight end, but I kind of see him as more of a Tyler Boyd replacement than a who was the tight end last year?
Irv Smith.
You know what I'm saying?
Hudson, depending on how
Tanner Hudson, right?
How you want to count it.
But I see him more as a. I don't see him as an Irv Smith replacement as much as I see him as a Tyler Boyd replacement. If that makes sense.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
And
So
his
I'm
production will only go up or at least stabilize at this
yeah,
level. I do believe that once T. Higgins is in. They are going to do everything they can do to take away
wrong
those
cup.
two, which
I'm
is going
sorry.
to leave
Go ahead.
so many opportunities for the tight ends.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
put Chase T and then start running these 2 tight end sets. They even ran
Yeah.
3. They ran 13 personnel. That's it's the most exciting football I've
I know.
seen from the Bengals. I
It
know that's
is.
a ridiculous thing to say, but it's new and it's
Yep.
fun and it's unique and it's allowing this run game. Let's talk about the run game for a minute. The run
Yeah.
game, they don't use it as much as they think they should. And maybe that's
Right.
just because they're still getting a feel for how much they can rely on it. But the run game actually looks presentable. I'm
It
not
does.
embarrassed of our run game.
Right. What I saw in our run game, Zach Moss looked plodding. It looked like a plod, kind of slow. Chase Brown is explosive.
Yeah.
And he only got 4 carries to Zach Moss's. I think Zach Moss got 12, but he averaged like 7 yards per carry. For Zach Moss's like 2.5 yards per carry. I would like to see that even out a little bit more.
I would too.
It could be because now it could be they say, hey, he can't block. You know what I mean? And those are some of these running plays Burrow's checking into. And if he's not out there because he can't block, then that's just the way it is. And I get that if that's the case. But I would like to see the ball in his hands a little bit more, just because you just see it when he has the ball. Like if he gets in this space where he's past the defensive line, and you can tell if he can just make one linebacker miss, he's gone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just one missed tackle, he's gone. And it's going to happen. I want to see it. So what would you think? You agree? You'd like to see him more? I don't know if I want to say Zach Moss less, but a little bit more
That would
balanced when it comes to running the ball.
I would like it. You're right. It's not Zach Moss less because I would like Zach Moss's snaps to remain like pretty much where they're at, or maybe
Yeah.
slightly reduced. And I would just like Chase Brown's to catch up. If you look at the way the league is trending right now, the run game's back, man,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in a decent position
Yep.
to exploit that with the tight ends we have, with the running backs we have, with the O line being, in my opinion, the best it's been.
Yep.
Trent Brown notwithstanding, but he looked better this game. Not great, but you're where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we can exploit this trend. And if we could figure out the run game, man, I wouldn't mind grabbing a back in the first or second round next year and just going to town for the next couple of years. But that's a
Yep.
conversation for the future.
It is.
Yeah, but I'm very happy with the run game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then, like you said, there is kind of this trend where these defenses are saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to let Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or whoever beat us deep, and we're going to drop back in deep coverage, and we're going to force all these quarterbacks to check down, and that's all they can do. They got to take what's given to them, you know. So we're seeing all these quarterbacks we're used to throwing these deep bombs are 5, 6, 7 yard dink and dunk passes, but the running game, like you said, when you drop those 2 safeties back deep and you're planning, you're playing nickel. You're planning on stopping the pass, it's hard to stop the run. And we saw that with the Bengals' inability to stop the run. So, yeah,
Yes.
how ironic and funny would it be if the Bengals make Joe Burrow the highest paid quarterback when it comes to like money per year in the history of the NFL 2 years before a major trend shifts where teams just run the ball?
It
You
would
know?
be funny, but it would still be money
Yeah.
well spent
No.
because our running game is always going to be 15% better than it should be because
Yep.
they're so scared of Burrow.
I agree with that.
That's just
Yep.
going to be the nature of it. But you're talking, I get what you're saying about just the trend of taking away the deep ball, which is something
Mhm.
we've lamented. But you can almost feel the shift that this coaching staff has made, anticipating this exact thing
Yep.
between the tight ends we've added, between the O line, between the running backs. If we want like big like gains, it's going to be yards after catch,
Yep.
and we're pretty well suited
Oh, yeah.
take advantage of that once this whole thing gets running. Um, for dump offs, we got the tight ends. Chase Brown could be a yak machine if he just gets
Mhm.
takes that final step. Jamar Chase in the slot, Burton in the slot.
Yeah.
I think this team is more prepared for the next stage of the NFL than maybe fans think it is.
I can see that. And I don't remember where I saw it, but someone said that to be successful in the NFL, you have to have yak machines right now because you're not beating
Yep.
anyone deep. Jamar Chase, there aren't many wide receivers that I would fear more in space than Jamar Chase. And we've seen that time and time again, turning some slant or some, comeback route into a touchdown, 60, 70 yard touchdown. The only guy that doesn't really seem to fit that mold is T. Higgins, but T. Higgins plays a very different role. Is you always want a jump ball guy. And I don't know if there's many wide receivers in the
Yes.
NFL much better than 50-50 balls than T. Higgins right now. But having them both is great. You know what I mean? But next year, when T. Higgins is gone, like you said, the way offenses are trending with yards after catch, I don't know if they're going to miss him that much. I don't. I think 2021 Bengals, where they beat everyone over the top, you know what I mean? That's the team that
Yes.
T. Higgins was great on. And he's going to be great now. I'm hoping he can play. That's the big thing. Is this hamstring injury was nagging through last year. It's bothering him this year. He's missed the first 2 weeks. And in a season where he wants to be paid, he's like, hey, I signed the franchise tag. This is a risk I'm willing to take for this team because, one, I think we can win a Super Bowl, and two, I want to get paid next year. You're not going to get paid if you can't play. And I almost feel bad for him, I mean, I hope he can get on the field. I really do. Almost more
He
for
will
his
at some
sake.
point, but he has missed at least a game every season he's been in the league with that hamstring issue. With that exact hamstring issue, it is a forever problem. I mean, it's been years of this, and we got the proof. He is never going to successfully complete a season without missing at least a game, if not multiple games. I want to talk about the defense a little bit, and then I want to move on to the Commanders and just talk about like our predictions a little bit. Where I'm going to say we don't super need T. Higgins for the Commanders, but moving on to the defense, I'm going to avoid the elephant in the room, and I'm going to talk about the positives real quick.
Okay.
Cam Taylor-Britt,
yes,
looked great. Had one of the best interceptions I've seen in forever. It's going to be a highlight reel interception for the rest of his life. Yeah. He might truly be ascending into a lockdown corner, and I am here for it.
Yes, I 100% agree. So I'm not going to sit here, and I know this is going to sound off topic. Not Orlando Brown Jr., I'm sorry. Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, is a good wide receiver, okay? Yes. But he's built a career off one freak highlight play.
Yep.
And I'm telling you right now that I expect to see Cam Taylor-Britt's interception after he's retired in an NFL commercial. That's how crazy that play was. That's going to be
we'll be 60, 70 years old. It'll be talking about like the old days, the great old days. That was Cam Taylor-Britt.
Yeah.
It'll absolutely happen.
And I'm so happy it happened because he got burnt on one play. He gave up a long touchdown pass. And that was the only negative play he had all game long. He was incredible. But that interception he had was the most athletic, most unbelievable interception, period. Unbelievable. I've seen cornerbacks intercept passes for a long time. I've never seen anything look like that. Unbelievable. Unreal.
And then we have Dax Hill.
Dax Hill looks good.
I really like to point out when I'm on the record as being correct about things, making predictions.
Yeah.
So I have to go the other direction if I'm going to be honest about stuff. Beginning of this season, I said moving Dax Hill to outside corner was a mistake. I said he was built to be a slot corner.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to get on the field overly much in that role, but I saw that as his future. He is getting not just the hang of it, he's ascending in this role so much quicker than I thought he'd be capable of. To the point where like I'm real happy with our cornerback room at this point. Between the rookies stepping up and then Dax Hill somehow being like a good outside corner. I did not see it coming. I am thrilled.
Yep. I totally agree. He played really well. He is just one of those guys that's such a freak athlete that I think that, and he's a freak athlete, and I think he's naturally instinctive. That's the thing. You know what I mean? I think he knows football.
His tackling needs to improve.
It does. But that's something that he can improve. You know what I mean?
He can. Yes.
I can't make him faster.
I'm building him up. I got to be honest about his deficiencies as well. But this is still early in his career as a corner. So like, I'm willing to like wait it out.
Now, in your opinion, has he? So a lot of people would have said, "Hey, he's a bust. He's a bust. He's your first round pick. You brought him in to replace Jesse Bates. He was a disaster. He wasn't even playing in year 3 or I guess year 2 anymore because Jordan Battle took over. You know what I mean? So Has he, in your opinion, has he done enough to revitalize his career for a first round pick?
That's a very hard question, right?
Okay.
If he continues to play at this level, it gives me hope for that. But we're only 2 weeks in, and I'm not willing to do
Right.
that quite yet.
Okay.
Also, you cannot. If he was he's on the same trajectory that a fourth round pick should be
Yeah.
on, where
Right.
he doesn't overly produce for the first couple years. You redshirt him a little bit, um, and then he starts popping off once he gets like caught up to the game.
Sure.
And you
Yeah.
really don't want that out of a first round pick. So the years we lost of production by selecting him might never
Yeah.
um, be made up within this contract. But I'm not focusing on that, man. He's a first round pick and he's
Sure.
playing. We got him playing. We got some value out of him.
Yep.
Maybe more than some, maybe a lot of value out of him. I'll take it. It's what
Yep.
the team needed because we've also lost a lot of value in our early picks.
We have. I will also go on the record and say that Geno Stone is who they hoped Nick Scott would have been. Geno Stone's
Yes.
been good. He's
Yes,
good. He's
yes.
a good, and he's good at what they want him to do. He's a center fielder. He's going to
Yes.
drop back, and he's very good at that. So I'm happy they brought him in. So the defensive tackle situation.
The elephant in the room. That's what I was avoiding.
Yep. BJ Hill left early in the game with a hamstring issue, and you could tell he was pissed. He limped over the sideline. I think I read somewhere he threw his helmet. He
A lot
left
of
the
that this
game.
game.
Yeah, I know. He left the game, and then later in the second half, Sheldon Rankins, the other starting defensive tackle, left the game with a hamstring injury. And just big guys and hamstrings, that's a tough combination. It's hard to get through that, especially when you're a bigger guy. So the Bengals were already without McKinley Jackson. They were already without Chris Jenkins. They finished the game with Zach Carter and Jay Tafele, and that's it.
Yeah.
So heading into week 3, McKinley Jackson's still going to be on IR. We don't know about Chris Jenkins. We don't know about Sheldon Rankins. We don't know about BJ Hill. They did sign Lawrence Guy. They did. That's it. They signed Lawrence Guy. So it's going to be interesting to see this week if we're going to get our first glimpse of Chris Jenkins, or if we're going to see like, hey, Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill. They're not quite 100%. They're going to rotate in and out. You know what I mean? We're going to have to see a lot of Guy, a lot of Tafele. But this position, I think I was more concerned about this position than any position on the roster heading into week 1. And now there's just the injury bug is bit hard here. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, what do you think? I don't know what there is to do. I don't know what there is to do, to be honest with you.
There's almost nothing to do. There really isn't. They could trade. It's an option. I don't see the Bengals doing that. The Bengals value their draft picks more than most franchises, especially because they think the answers are in the room. They're just injured. I think it's just going to be a really bad D line for a while. I think they should explore moving Hubbard inside some, giving Osai some snaps over there. I hope Rankins and BJ Hill are a little bit better. I hope Jenkins maybe just club him up, you know what I mean, to protect that thumb and see what he can do. But there's not an answer here. This was a problem going into the season, and now 2 of our starters just went down.
Yep.
There's no solution. The solution is to put 30 on them. That's the solution.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think that when it comes to the next game, I think the one thing that could save them, one is the extra day because they're playing on Monday Night Football, but 2 is the fact that they're playing against the Commanders with a rookie quarterback who probably is not going to throw very much. And maybe what they could do for this week is, instead of play the bulk of their snaps at a nickel, put ADG in and you're going to run 4-3. You know what I mean? You're going to run with 3 linebackers, not that extra slot corner, and you're going to take a risk. You're going to say, hey, we're not going to let you run the ball. If you're going to beat us, Jaden Daniels going to have to do it himself. And I think that's a great plan for Lou Anarumo. What do you think?
I think it's likely the only plan. I think Lou's the guy to be able to disguise this. I still haven't lost. I do think that there's the shines come off the apple a little bit with Anarumo occasionally. But as far as confusing a rookie quarterback, disguising looks, maybe even some exotic blitz packages,
Yep.
I could absolutely see Lou Anarumo basically pulling out every trick he has,
Yeah.
and maybe only 20% of those tricks would work on a top tier experienced quarterback. But if we
Right.
can confuse a
One or two
rookie,
turnovers. Yep.
that's what I'm saying. If we can accuse a rookie even 40% of the time, then
Yep.
this game becomes a shootout pretty quickly. And that's the game we want it to be, because we're sitting here building up the safeties, we're sitting there building up the cornerbacks. We've got a great
Yep.
linebacking group. If we can
Yep.
make Jaden Daniels throw it over and over and over again,
Yes.
then we can win this game pretty handily.
So I think that the key there. So there's two keys for me, in my opinion. Is one, you got to score. You can't settle for field goals. You got to score touchdowns.
No.
You have to get a lead. You have to take a lead, so you can't let them, or so they feel that they can't just run. They got to
Yes.
have to throw the ball. And number two is you have to stop the run. That's it. If they can score, that sounds stupid. If they score more points than the other team, they can win this game. I'm just saying, if they don't settle for field goals, the offense gets out to an early lead, and they look like they did in the drives that worked against Kansas City. They look better again. They get a 14-point lead in the first half. This game's over. It's done. They can't. The Commanders just can't run the ball and overcome a 14-point lead if the offense is on point. The Bengals offense is on point.
Yeah.
But if the Bengals can't run the ball or can't stop the run, and the Commanders just keep Joe Burrow on the sideline and just march down the field, and if the offense struggles where it's a close game, the Bengals could lose this game at home. And I will say, if they lose this game at home on Monday Night Football, season's over. 0-3, there is no coming back from that. Even though it's possible, but I'm going to say that it won't happen, especially as division winner. So,
well, if our division looked better, I would agree.
Yeah,
but our division doesn't look good,
wild,
which is wild.
Yeah,
I do think that the Ravens are going to figure it out. I do think that's still the most dangerous division rival we have. Just like we're going to figure it out. You think the Browns? You think the Browns are?
No.
Is that what you're okay?
No, I don't think they're going to figure it out. And the Steelers being 2-0 is just a product of who they've played. Yeah, it is. I do think the best teams in this division are still 0-2. The Ravens go to Dallas this week. They could easily end up 0-3. Easily. So we'll see.
But just to follow up on what you were saying real quick, because I did have a kind of a counterpoint a little bit. You said stop the run. I don't think we can. Not with any kind of consistency. I just don't think that's with it as depleted as this D line is. I just don't think that's in the cards. That's why you got to put 14 on them, because that also stops the run.
Right.
If you can just get up high enough on them, then they just won't have the time to really lean on the run game, no matter how well it's working.
Right.
So we got to come out hard. We got to come out hard, and we got to score out the gate.
Yep. They need to jump to an early lead and make it clear you're not going to be able to run the ball. If you want to keep up with us, you can't run the ball. So the Commanders are 1-1. They lost in week 1 to somebody. I can't remember who. And then they beat the Giants in week 2 with a field goal, last-second field goal. So the Bengals are favored, I think, by 7.5. That was the opening.
Sure. That matches what I got here.
Yeah. This, to me, is their get-right game. You know what I mean? This to me says, hey, the first game was awful. That's a preseason game. Second game, we were right there. It's a great opponent. We looked much better. This is how they come out, and they're going to punish the Commanders. And then everyone's going to say, oh, okay, there they are. That's the team that we all expected to see in week 1. So my prediction for this game, I'm going to say it's going to be 32-17. It's going to be.
Oh, you're going blowout on this one.
Yes, I am going blowout.
Okay. I'm going 20-27. 27-20 Bengals.
Okay.
Which sounds closer than I actually anticipate it being.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be a blowout. I just think Zach Taylor has a tendency to take his foot off the gas. In situations like this, something I don't love.
Yeah.
So I expect it to be a clear, decisive victory, but I expect it to be 27-20.
We're one of those games where someone says, hey, I know it's close, but it was never really that close. The scoreboard is not accurately. I get what you mean.
Yes,
and that'd be fine.
Hold it with multiple field goals. Yes.
Yep. Monday Night Football. They're the home, not underdog. They're the home favorite. It's just, and now their backs are against the wall. And that's a sad thing about saying something in week 3 is that this is a must-win game, but it is a must-win game, which sucks. And that sucks for them because it's week 3. We shouldn't be saying this stuff till week 13. You know what I mean? But they did this to themselves. They put themselves in this situation where they said, hey, we got off to a slow start, and now we're going to have to come out and kick ass again. The thing that does help them is the Ravens doing the same exact thing. I'm not worried about the Steelers. I'm not worried about the Browns. I was more worried about the Browns before the season, and then I watched them play, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
They're a mess. So, and then the Steelers, I think they've scored less than 20 points in both their wins. That's not sustainable. That's not going to keep happening. So,
my final thought on this,
yeah,
and it's on the upcoming game, but it's also just on the next upcoming games, is Burrow has often said he likes to get hit. It makes him play better ball. It brings him into reality with football. Watching him come off that field, watching him in the press conference that took place after the game,
yes.
This was a hit.
Oh,
I think Burrow is about to go on a tear, the likes of which we haven't seen recently. I expect Burrow to hit full form real quick, and I don't think he's going to take his foot off the gas the way Taylor likes to. I think Burrow's about to get real dangerous real quick. He just strikes me that way.
I don't remember what year it was, and this is the last thing we'll say, but the Kansas City Chiefs, it was Patrick Mahomes' first year, and Tom Brady went out there and Kansas City beat the Patriots like 44-14, just thoroughly embarrassed Tom Brady. And all they kept saying was, we're on to Cincinnati, because they were so pissed off. And they came to Cincinnati and beat the ever-living shit out of the Bengals because you could tell they were just taking out frustration on us. That's what I'm seeing coming up. That's what I see too. I could see Joe Burrow saying, hey, don't forget about me in his MVP voting. Don't. You know what I mean? I could see it.
Yep.
Got anything else, man?
Nope. That is it.
All right. Once again, on YouTube, we're on the Orange and Black Insider. It's us and OBI. Check it out. There's pretty much video every day. And then on Believe, the Believe Network, we are Believe in Cincy. It's us, it's OBI, it's Matt and Willie Nobal, and it is Talking Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. We will see you next week when we are 1-3 and heading into Giants week. So, who day?